Hi, good day everyone. Welcome to Deal Fridays with the theme Agritech today. My name is Anton Wibowo. I'm the CEO of Trendlines Agrifood Innovation Center, and we are the co-organizer of the Deal Fridays uh, this time round, together, of course, with our partner Enterprise Singapore. And today we have six exciting companies that are in the sector of agri-food tech, and all of them are already past seed stage. So they have products, they have MVPs, and they already have traction in the market. And six of them comes from different countries. We have from well, I believe that more people are still streaming in. We have about 120 registrants for today's event, and the presentations will go in alphabetical order. So the first one will be Atonics Systems by the CEO Philip Von Payne. Okay, and for the audience, if you have any question at any point of time, uh, please feel free to type it in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and if we can address those questions during the after the presentation, or if those questions that were not answered, the presenter will respond by typing to you after their presentation. Of course, you can also contact the presenter who will leave his contact details. Okay, so without further ado, I will first invite the Atonic Systems, Philip Von Payne, to present about his technology and his company. Philip, please.
Thank you, Anton, and thanks for having me. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep, all good.
Okay. So my name is Philip Von Payne. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Atonic Systems. At Atonics, we build mobile, robust, and low-cost spectrometer solutions. We are headquartered in Singapore, roughly 10 people, founded in 2015, and mainly represented by distributors around the world. Our mission is to build smart sensors on the fly for the average user and for applications related to environmental sensing, food quality and safety, non-invasive medical diagnostics, personal care, and many others. Why spectroscopy? Well, spectroscopy is a very powerful technique to measure properties of a sample. And if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, you would find many different areas where spectrometers can help to churn out valuable information, such as color in the visible spectral range, fluorescence, health metrics for skin, as well as vegetation. And in the mid-infrared spectral range, you can also elicit molecular information. There are three types of spectrometers in the market. To simplify it in terms of performance and cost, you have the low-end and low-cost filter-based spectrometers. Then you have the more prevalent grating spectrometers, which are used for color sensing mainly. They are already quite bulky and relatively expensive. And then you have the workhorses of the spectrometer technology, or in the spectrometer sector. They're typically confined to labs, very expensive, more than 50,000 US dollar typically, but they also offer a wide spectral range and a high spectral resolution. At Atonic Systems, we have built a interferometer chip, which allows us to leverage on the benefits of interferometer technology, but at a unique price and form factor. How did we do this? We looked at high-end conventional Michelson interferometer type spectrometers, very complex setup. We then reduced the optical and mechanical components to a nanostructured micromachined interferometer chip, which then allows us to build very compact spectral sensors with a very high speed. So our speed is only limited by the frame rate of the detector that we pair our chip with at a very low cost, very compact. There are no moving parts. And since it's all digitized, it also allows us to provide analytics and machine learning on top of that. So our capabilities are spectroscopy, single point sensing, mainly for color measurement, then also the area of multispectral imaging, most recent development in our R&D, where we combine spectral and spatial information, mainly for machine vision, robotics, but also very popular in Agritech, and of course, software and analytics. 4 areas that our company is mainly focusing on, which is digital healthcare. Most recently, we've also started working on a rapid test kit for the SARS-CoV-2 detection of the virus, as well as neutralizing antibodies. Personal care, smart home appliances, applications related to graphic arts and the printing industry, and quality control with a specific focus here on food safety and agritech. So in food safety and agritech, what's our value proposition? Well, here we combine the physics of our spectrometer with application-specific software and big data, because the more you measure, the more accurate your results, to then democratize and digitize quality control on the fly. Within food safety and agritech, the areas that we have worked in is food safety, so measuring quality and authenticity of milk, for example, olive oil, green vegetables, packaged meat and fish. For specifically manufacturing processes, inline quality control, we've built solutions for quality measurement of beverage powder to detect the CO2 or carbonation content of cola, to measure quality of dairy products, candies. Then, of course, water and air quality sensing is a big topic for spectral sensors. And more recently, we've also looked at vertical farming, specifically measuring the intensity and spectrum of illumination sources, as well as the health of plants. Some examples for food quality control that we've worked on is for 2 companies, where one, we had to measure the quality by means of measuring the color of candies as well as beverage powder, then classified spectrally into different color codes, classifications, as well as tolerance levels, to then allow the company or the manufacturing process to give an alert whenever there's a deviation in color information, and hence that correlates then also to a quality deficiency within the manufacturing process. So we could look at color, but other areas we also looked at is moisture, sugar, and proteins, which is also found in the near-infrared spectral range. Another example for a big dairy manufacturing company was to look at the quality of dairy yogurt, and more specifically certain ingredients such as aloe vera content. The way we did this was we used a fluorescent spectrometer setup, and if you use fluorescence, then you have very specific spectral patterns in the emission of the fluorescent spectrum. And if you look at the spectrum on the right-hand side, and we compare the spectral pattern of yogurt with aloe vera content to the yogurt without aloe vera content, so without it's in blue, with it's in red, then you see a clear deviation and a difference in the spectral pattern, and that can then be used to quickly determine whether there's a quality deficiency or a lack of aloe vera, for example, in the manufacturing process, and a batch immediately needs to be stopped and recalibrated. Similar with regard to quality control of milk. Here, this was a project commissioned by a big company in India, where milk farmers are paid by the weight of their milk when they send it to recollection or the collection centers. That's of course a problem if they are paid by weight, because then milk gets tampered with, diluted, etc. So one task was to use fluorescence spectroscopy again to determine the fat content of milk as one of the quality indicators. And again, if we compare the spectrum of milk with low and high fat content, and you see a clear difference, and this is something that can be done within seconds to determine the authenticity or quality of milk. With regard to plant health, I think everyone here is an expert in agritech and plant health. We know that plant health can be determined both by absorbance spectroscopy, so this is by measuring the color of the leaf, as well as fluorescence, which goes directly into the measurement of chlorophyll content. Here we use two parameters to measure the plant health. On the left chart here, you see the absorbance curves of chlorophyll, which are the light absorbing molecules of a plant. And you can see that within the visible spectral range, the blue as well as the red light are absorbed, hence the green light is only refracted. That's why a healthy leaf appears also green to the human eye. And the absorbance curves are then also a direct correlation to the health of the plant. So that's how you can correlate health of plant to absorbance spectroscopy. Looking at fluorescence, we are emitting a light source and then looking at the emission spectrum of the chlorophyll, which is within the wavelength of roughly 680 nanometers. And the higher the peak, the more chlorophyll content and the healthier the plant. Going back to the more generic roadmap, so we are at Atonics is not only looking at Agritech. In fact, we are launching our first neutralizing antibody test kits early next year. We're launching a dental scanner to digitize color communication between dentists and lab technicians by sometime in Q2 22. And we're also working on our multispectral imaging system, which can then also be used for Agritech and drones in June 22. We work with industry partners mainly to leverage on their industry-specific expertise and capabilities. We use distributors in 13 different countries. And of course, we also have direct key accounts that we serve directly out of Singapore. This is our team, as I mentioned before, roughly 10 people focusing on optical engineering, mechanical engineering, software engineering, and the business side of the company. And if you have any questions, then I'll be happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip. That's really interesting to see the application of spectroscopy in agri and food. In fact, we also have seen a few companies that are using that principle to measure the different parameters in whether the plant health or food quality. So one question to you is that besides being compact, portable, how else is it different from the solutions that are right now available in the market with the competing solutions?
Well, you mean with regard to food and agri-tech specifically?
That's right.
I guess, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so of course, there are always different ways and technologies that you can use to probably come to the same result. Specifically in food and agri-tech and also the food industry, the current way for quality control is mainly that is an offline sampling method. So the big companies, they all have their spectrometer systems, but they are typically bulky and relatively slow. So it takes a couple of minutes to come to the results, which means it's not ideal for inline quality control or for a direct real-time in-field measurement system. So they typically use take a sample from a batch, and then they go to the lab and they do the analysis. So that's an established technology also for spectrometers. Our forte is just to not just miniaturize it, but have a rugged and fast setup so that you can integrate it directly into the process flow, or you attach it to a smartphone and you allow the person in charge tend to do the analyses already within the plantation or directly in field.
I see. That's great. And I noticed that when you were showing the slides about the measuring food quality, there's always a need to have some reference point, right? Whether it's this milk with that milk. So is that done by the customer, or you have to work with the every new customer to calibrate or to build that into into your solutions?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. So when you go down to the infrared spectrum or molecular sensing, you typically have libraries where you can then quantify also in absolute values, certain quality parameters, or really look at the molecular level. In the visible and near infrared, we typically have to define the base levels together with the customer. So what is the baseline? And then also define what are the tolerance levels, right? So that's different for every customer. So just as an example, for a big coffee and beverage powder manufacturer, they gave us the threshold that their beverage powder has to have a moisture level of 2.2 to 2.4%. So that is kind of a tolerance level we then have to incorporate into our library, so that we make sure whenever there's a deviation or it goes beyond these tolerance levels within the manufacturing process, we give an alert. So you really have to work very closely with the customer to set these, say, baselines and also tolerance levels. But of course, you have to have a certain resolution also, so that you can measure these different steps, right? So that's why a smartphone alone wouldn't work, because the resolution of a smartphone is not good enough to capture these tolerance levels.
Understood. So the hardware is really just to deliver or the capability of measuring a more accurate data, let's call it, and then your company Atonics will have the capability of analyzing that and making it useful for the customers.
Correct. So our hardware really churns out spectral information at a certain resolution. Of course, there's always a compromise between size and performance, but we have a certain resolution that is enough, let's say, for medical applications, for detecting the SARS-CoV-2 virus, or to really detect the plant health in terms of color information that is required at a certain resolution. And then on top of that, we make the user interface so that anyone can read it who's not an expert in spectroscopy.
Okay. Last question, a quick one. What is the fundraising plan of Atonics right now?
We've just completed a pre-Series A round. Up to date, we have raised roughly 5 million Singapore dollars, and target would be to go for Series A sometime next year.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much, Philip. A pleasure.
Thank you very much, Anton.
Presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, and now the next company that's presenting is Austria Nova by Dr. John Dangerfield.
Hello.
Dr. John, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, all good.
All right then. Is that working with the share screen?
Yes. I have not seen the slides yet. Okay, it's coming up. All right. Yep, perfect.
All right, thanks for giving me the opportunity to present. So I'd like to explain to you about how we're revolutionizing the cell encapsulation industry by means of a novel and proprietary material, which has several very important technological advantages over other existing technologies available on the market. So just to give you a headline slide, although we've morphed recently into more of a platform technology to use this cell encapsulation in many industries, we originally started out as a medical company targeting only cell therapy using our encapsulation technology for oncology. And at that time, we did 2 successful human clinical trials for cancer. We established more recently the world's first large-scale bioencapsulating manufacturing service. So companies come to us now to have medical grade encapsulation. We've done 4 major license deals with a US listed pharmaceutical company and L'Oreal. We currently have at least 7 or now 8, I think, research R&D contracts with important industrial partners which we then act as a technology partner for as they bring the product to market. So we're not, you know, that's not our business model to become experts in all these different areas we're working in. We have the very well patented 3 patent families, which are granted in 26 territories. We have very strong scientific background and more than 50 original scientific peer-reviewed articles. And we earlier this year completed post-IPO. So post-IPO, we get access to a $100 million pot. And this is through a company called GEM, who is a $3.4 billion multinational fund. So when we list, we get access to that 100 million. So the problem in the cell encapsulation space for cell therapy products is if you were to put cells, allogeneic cells, into a human, you would get the immune system reacting to those cells. So the encapsulation is obviously protects those cells. It also protects the patient from those cells. You know, of course, it is conceivable that they could escape the immune system and potentially cause a problem. So it's a two-way protection mechanism for the cells when you want to implant them for a medical reason. The other challenges are that for living cells, for the use of living cells in the area of probiotics, is that when you store them, they lose their shelf life very, very quickly because they're living cells in a packet on the shelf. They're subject to many stresses and they die very quickly. And of course, when you consume them or when you use them in nature, whether you consume them or you put them onto your skin or whatever setting you choose to put those living cells into, they are subject to stressful chemicals in the stomach, for example, acid, which really is the reason why we have stomach acid, to kill any bacteria that get in. But of course, if we want to put good bacteria in, it also kills them too. So this is why our process solves all these challenges in the living cell product space. As I mentioned, we protect from the immune system, and we enable storage and protection from stomach acid. This is what the capsules look like, a schematic. If you were to zoom down with an electron microscope and look at our capsules, they have a porous membrane. The cells inside can grow and fill out the capsules to make a full capsule, which minimizes the amount of material you use for the effective dose of the cells. And small molecules such as nutrients from the cells can go in. And anything that the cells produce, therapeutic factors, biomolecules, they can be released. But larger things such as immune cells do not get in. And this is sort of what they look like. This is one of our oncology. We produce in pre-filled syringes for our GMP. These ones are colored, so you can see them, but that's what they physically look like. They're about 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter in size. We can modulate that size. We can modulate the porous membrane for allowing different kinds of molecules to be released. And say there's no one else has this technology. We developed it and patented it, and we have an exclusive license for its worldwide use and distribution. So yeah, we have two sides to the business. One side is we call cell in a box. That's eukaryotic human or animal cell products for medical use, for injection, and for immunoprotection. And that's this product I showed you here. And then on the other side of the business, we have our what we call back in a box trademark, which is for encapsulation of bacteria and yeast for the use of probiotics and for many other applications, farming and agriculture, bioremediation, and many partners that we're working with. And the product on this for back in a box is actually a freeze-dried product. So you can see it's a dry powder. Those are the capsules you can see in there, like little tiny mini polystyrene balls. We can create it as a flowing powder or as a kind of pellet. You can see both examples in there. And we can modulate the size of the pellets. And we have several different processes for that production. So because this is a Agritech oriented meeting, I'd put in an example here, which we have one of the major project partnerships we have with an Australian company is for the encapsulation of oxygen sensitive anaerobic bacteria, which live in the rumen of ruminants, so sheep and cattle, and they require that for certain feed conversion in their rumen. And currently, if you move a cow from grass onto grain, there's a period where they have to develop the right probiotics in their stomach, the right bacteria in their stomach in order to digest the food. And during this period, they have weight loss, they have diarrhea. It's a wasted time for the farming process. So currently products to solve this are liquid. They have to be refrigerated. They have the bacteria have very low viability and shelf life. And although these products are being used because they're needed, there's a clear market opportunity for our technology here. We've shown that it works now in 2 field studies. We've been working with partnering with this company for several years. We've developed our technology to encapsulate these probiotics, which are strictly anaerobic. We protect them from oxygen as well. And they're very excited about bringing this to market as soon as possible. We're currently into a third field study before we go to market with this. And we also have other products which I haven't got time to go into detail here for shrimp farming, and also for things like planting seeds with nitrogen fixing bacteria in the capsules to protect them and localize the bacteria near the roots, and many other kind of agri-related projects that we have proof of concept for, but we're not so far down the road of production as for those. So our business model is to get income from doing these proof of concept studies where a client says we need encapsulation. They come to us with their proprietary cell type, and we show that we can encapsulate them, that they survive, that we give them what we call a CFU, so an active dose per gram. We say, look, for your probiotic, we can give you 10 to the 9 or 10 to the 11 per gram for your particular molecule, for your particular proprietary strain. And then we would go ahead and do a license deal based on that, and then we would receive manufacturing income, and then we negotiate a royalty for the product. So we let the company always do all the marketing, distribution, sales, and so on, and we just take a royalty on that. So these are the current partners we have in the 2 different areas. You can see at the top here the cell in a box. We're selling a kit with Sigma Aldridge. This is a Japanese pharmaceutical company. We're manufacturing stem cell products for them in our GMP. This pharma site is the US listed company where we've licensed 3 areas, including diabetes. We have a deal with L'Oreal. We've been working with L'Oreal for many years for obviously skin microbiome delivery. They're very excited about that, and that's going very well. This is the Australian company. And we're looking at things like celiac disease and obesity for the delivery of probiotics. So we can really, essentially what we do is fecal transplant without the need to, swallow poop or have it inserted in other ways, which we won't go into. It's so a lot of companies who have these kind of fecal transplant matter products which clearly work and have fantastic medical potential, those companies are all talking to us because we make their product a lot more palatable, to be straight up. So this is the management team. Currently we have 2 very experienced leaders who've been in the industry before in German biotech companies, myself and this is our guy who's running the GMP, which our GMP facility is in Thailand. And all the probiotics work is done here in Singapore at our lab at Science Park. We've been in Singapore now for 13 years. And currently we have around 10 employees here and 6 or 7 in Thailand, but a lot of our team is working off, not actually being an employee, but on subcontract. So altogether we have about 20 people globally at the moment. So this is what the structure looks like. ST Austria is the holding company where the investment would go into. You can see here a list of our current investors, including the company we're working with in the US. A-Star, so the Singapore government, is a significant shareholder, and we have some Japanese investors and high net worth individuals. And any investment would be into the holding company, which is 100% owner of all the probiotic work, which we do here at Austria Nova Singapore, and all the cell in a box GMP manufacturing, which is done in Thailand. So currently we're looking to raise 15 million, 10 to 15 million. And we just completed a $1 million investment just a few weeks ago. and currently looking to do a Series A for 10 to 15. As you can see downstream, as I mentioned earlier, we've completed this pipe, what they call pipe funding, which we can access as soon as we list, which would be done by we're looking at SPACs and maybe an RTO or shell company, but whatever method we choose to list, it can be anywhere. We would have access to that fund. So it's a very safe investment from the perspective of any investor, because obviously we'll be open to negotiations on doing a deal whereby within a couple of years we list, and you know, any funds could be at least partially you know, returned from this pipe pot that we have, depending on the deal. So it's a pretty safe investment, I would say, at this stage. This is just the PR about this gem pipe deal that we've done, and a look at our revenue projections. So, you know, we're looking to go to 600 mil within the next 8 or 9 years. That's our business plan. As soon as we list and access that money, things really take off then. And that's based on our current partner pipeline, which is pretty strong. But we also, on all those R&D contracts I mentioned, there are also some big multinational players in there. If any one of those products gets past all the, you know, the internal scrutinies in a large company which says go ahead with the product, this is a very conservative estimate done on a lot of discounting models. But the investment that I mentioned that we've just closed for 1 million a couple of weeks ago, that was done at a valuation of 50 million. So that's our current value. You know, for $1 million US, they got 2% of the company. So that's where we stand at the moment with our valuation, and that fits with all the models you want to do as well. So that was what we predicted our valuation to be before we landed this investment. So yeah, just a quick slide on all the markets. These are all the areas we're in and the potential value of those markets. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I think we've had 12 million in revenues over the last 10 years. It's very scalable, our technology, across multiple industries. We have very strong partners, a strong team with a lot of experience. It's very well protected and patented and unique. No one else has our technology. And yeah, we're very close to the market now. There's a clear exit. We don't need a lot to get there. So we feel that we've got, you know, quite a number of people looking at us to come in on this round. And there's only a short amount of time that we'll be able to hold open that current valuation. But we're still obviously interested to have people look at us, as many as possible. That keeps our options open. Strategic investments especially interesting for us. So that's it. I'm open for any contact if you want to email me for any further details. As I say, I'm based here in Singapore, but we have a team in Thailand as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John. I think we only have time for one question, and this is coming from the audience. How does your encapsulation compare to viral encapsulation method, which is viral, yes, which is commonly used in cell therapy? That's the first one. And what I guess the more important one is, what is the purpose of encapsulating bacteria for the use in agriculture?
Yes. So so for viral encapsulation, I mean, viruses are kind of encapsulated themselves, and mostly for vaccine delivery, you use the virus or a virus-like particle where you put the antigens of that you want to stimulate the immune reaction from. You put them into the virus-like particle. Further encapsulation of a virus doesn't make too much sense unless you're talking about protecting it a little bit from the immune system. So if you want to protect a vaccine long enough that it's not recognized as a foreign body and cleared by the complement system, but yet still can elicit the immune response you want, there's technologies like polyethylene glycol, which can make a virus live longer when you put it in the body. If that's what you mean, I'm not quite sure on the question, because encapsulating viruses, I don't really see what the application for that would be, but maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. I'm happy to take a question to discuss further offline on that one. We can encapsulate viruses, but anything bacteria, just is going to come out. straight away. So what you would encapsulate is the cells that produce the virus, and then they would keep on producing the virus. So in that way, we have an interesting delivery mechanism for a vaccine approach. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. For the Agritech, yeah, I mean, the ones we've been approached about is encapsulation of seeds and co-encapsulation of nitrogen-fixing bacteria, because the capsules do not break down in the environment. So you can use them as a kind of little production factory to co-locate the any bacteria that are beneficial for the growth of the seedling with the seed together, and have that last for a long period of time and survive until it's planted into the ground and then released when there's moisture in the earth. So those are the kind of ag-tech applications we're thinking about, and where we have some proof of concept, but we don't really have a partner or a license deal yet. So kind of the reason, again, for coming on this call would be, maybe there's the right partner listening, or the investor who has the right connections to do something in that. We have had people interested in this area, but we only follow what our clients want us to do. We don't go off and do all this kind of research on our own. We only do it when we have interest from a partner.
Understood. So, yep, if you have any further question for Dr. John, again, please just type it in the Q&A button, or you have his contact here and you can approach him directly. Thank you, Dr. John, for your presentation.
Thank you very much. I'll switch off my video microphone then.
Thank you. All right, next one, we invite David Chen from Golden Sunland / Little Rice Company, and I will let him present and explain what his company does. David, you have to go into the presentation mode.
All right, just give me 1 second. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, it's loading, but yes, okay, good.
Okay, so thanks for having us here today. Hi everyone, so this is David. I'm the co-founder of Golden Sunland, and Golden Sunland is a rice value chain company with expertise in seed development. We largely work with smallholder farmers in Myanmar to produce sustainable rice for the market. So today, just before we move into the main content, I just want to do a quick disclaimer to just set the stage and the context, right? So I'm based in Singapore for the last 1.5 years. I used to be based in Myanmar. So due to the pandemic, the topic of food security has escalated in Singapore, and it does seem like an insecure future due to the supply issues, and price hike is inevitable. So while Golden Sunland has the freedom to sell its consumer product anywhere in the world, but for today, what we really like to focus is how Golden Sunland, as a Singapore-based startup, can contribute meaningfully to Singapore's rice self-sufficiency. So I wouldn't say this, I don't think this is a problem. I guess this is just some facts. We consume about 300,000 metric tons of rice annually in Singapore. So for a population of about 6 million, that works out to about 50 kilograms per person per year. And if we just assume the scenario of 30% of rice self-sufficiency for Singapore, that would require about 188 kilometers square of land to produce. So to kind of give everyone here from Singapore a sense of space, right, that's essentially the entire central business district and half of the Northeast region converted into rice fields. And just want to say that this assumption is actually based on the highest yield of 9.6 metric tons per hectare achieved by the Australians. If we take into consideration of regional yield, the land required would be double at best. So in this tiny picture, there's an interesting farm project that I did. It's 10 meters square, and the yield was about 7 metric tons per hectare. So it is actually possible to grow rice in Singapore. It's just that land is so scarce over here. Singapore's rice is 100% imported, and the supply is currently secured by a 1-to-2 stockpile policy and relationship established among the traders and the importers over the decades. The million-dollar question is, can we go upwards, right? Vertical farming is what I'm saying. There is limited publication on the feasibility of vertical rice farming. The closest we could find is a simulation of wheat production stacked up over 10 layers. And the yield increased exponentially by about 200 times. So assuming the same for rice, it means that we only need about 1 kilometer square to produce 30% of what we need. That's about 25% of the new high-tech agri-food cluster that's announced by Singapore Food Authority last year. But this is really a complex issue that can't be solved by tech alone. Because today we pay about $2 per kilo of rice at retail. And for a plant that is really low in photosynthesis efficiency, to generate energy equivalent to 8 hours of daily sunlight for 120 days is going to drive the cost sky high. And it is also important to note that globally, the largest segment of consumers who eat rice are of mid income and below. So while vertical farming is workable in theory for rice, for the foreseeable future, we do need a blended solution to solve food insecurity in Singapore. Which is why Golden Sunland's business model is really to create an ecosystem anchored by technology, but driven by social innovation. And we choose Myanmar to start the project because there is scalability and a clear need for a solution on the ground. In other words, there is a possibility to achieve the win-win scenario. In June this year, we have actually received our plant variety protection status for a variety, Set 15 from UPOV, the International Union for the Protection of New Varieties of Plants. The only other company in Singapore with similar status is Temasek Life Science for Temasek Rice. Set 15 is high in yield and more nutritious, and it is the key driver to drive our collaboration with the farmers and various partners on the ground for rice production, followed by our very own processing facility and also our consumer-facing brand, the Little Rice Company. So today, low glycemic index brown rice, so under the Little Rice Company brand, can be purchased in major supermarkets and e-commerce platforms. Businesses that seek sustainable and healthier rice also choose to work with Golden Sunland for their F&B and manufacturing needs. The latest development over the last 4 months, we have actually co-created an Agtech FinTech hybrid with Trendlines to develop a credit rating system in order to provide lenders with access, appraisal, and assurance to smallholder farmer lending. This latest initiative has the potential to break the revenue ceiling that is currently restricted by Golden Sunland's activities, which is largely limited by the processing capacity of our hard assets. So the ecosystem that we have built has supported close to 600 hectares since 2019, and our pilot has successfully produced more with less. But fundamentally, the ability to improve the farmer's livelihood and increase production are key leverage for us to secure exports. Just in absolute numbers, 30% of Singapore's consumption is just less than 1% of Myanmar's annual production, or about 4% of its current export numbers. By increasing the local productivity by up to 2.3 times, theoretically, we are able to secure what Singapore needs without eating into Myanmar's own requirement. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this sharing is really based on Singapore. So the annual trade value of rice in Singapore is about $215 million US. And based on Golden Sunland's next round of fundraising, we are targeting to supply 16% of Singapore's rice requirement at year 5 after fund injection. And assuming Golden Sunland exports 100% of its white rice back to Singapore, the obtainable market is around $25 million just in Singapore itself. And this revenue will exclude other categories of rice, seeds, and byproducts. Currently, about 40% of the trade value is with Thailand, 20%, sorry, I'm talking about Singapore's trade value. So currently 40% of Singapore's rice trade value is with Thailand, 20% with Vietnam, and the remaining are split among different countries, and that includes 2% from Myanmar. So using Golden Sunland's local presence as a leverage, we are confident of securing the export back to Singapore and capture 16% of the market requirement. The primary revenue is from these 4 categories, with a maximum earning potential of about $60 million yearly and a net profit margin of 34%. Now, the key driver of the revenue size is actually the split between the white rice and the premium rice. The premium rice is being sold at double the price of the white rice. So more premium rice, higher revenue and margin, but also it means that we need to spend more in A&P. We have also ventured into carbon credit generation through reduction of methane emission in the rice field by applying sustainable rice growing methodologies. This initiative is actually supported by Enterprise Singapore, and we are working closely with the CDM of the UNFCCC to improve methodology to facilitate carbon credit generation from rice planting. Based on successful case study in the United States, we can assume a tradable carbon credit of 1 metric tons of CO2 equivalent from each hectare of rice field. Assuming just $10 per metric ton for tradable carbon, our projected earning from carbon credit starts at 160,000. This will obviously fluctuate according to the carbon trading market over the next few years. Lastly, there's also potential to look into rice variety sales. Now, historically, Golden Sunland's co-founding team has done a similar transaction with the regional government for a value of $2.3 million for one variety. While the transaction for rice IP is not common, but it is certainly an area we could look into, perhaps for the purpose of a strategic buyout by agri companies in the future. So this revenue projection is for year 5 after fresh fund injection, and the growth is, as mentioned, limited by the hard asset processing capabilities. We're looking to break the revenue ceiling through our AgTech FinTech hybrid co-created with Trendlines. So if you have interest or you would like to know more about this AgTech FinTech initiative, feel free to reach out to either Trendlines or us after this. The company was seeded in 2017, jointly by the Private Infrastructure Development Group of UK and private investors. So to date, we have raised about $7.7 million in cash. 52% of it has been spent on processing facility and establishing a seed center over there in Myanmar, while 48% has been spent on operation. In 2020, the group level revenue is north of $600,000, and we have about 60 staff in Singapore and Myanmar. We are currently raising money for Series Pre-A, and we're looking for $5 million for 25% equity. Half of it will go to completion of the facility, while the other half for company operation and follow-up investment into the AgTech FinTech platform. Over the years, we have built a reputation around Golden Sunland's inclusive business. We have made multiple partners and we've gained some recognition. Fundamentally, we do believe that greater opportunities to enhance Singapore's food security lie in neighboring countries, where we have the technology and financial capabilities to help others to help ourselves. The team sincerely believe that this is a meaningful business. Rice industry is tough, but it's definitely something that can withstand the test of time and events such as pandemic and political unrest, which unfortunately we are facing both at the moment. So lastly, I just want to say that for any technology to be impactful, what is important is it needs to be implemented. And in the AgTech space, implementation does require a lot of creative business models and also a viable ecosystem. Thank you. I'm David, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. And yeah, especially your last message, I think that resonates with me as well, about, for technology to be impactful, it needs to be implemented. And that leads to my question. I see that you are trying to, or rather you are using technologies in the different parts of the value chain of the rice industry, from the seeds to now the processing, and then even the credit access for the farmers eventually. But how crucial do you think that there's a need to build a processing plant, right? Rather than just, for example, you have your seeds, you get the farmers, you work with other processors, and you build this so-called chain, the supply chain to them, rather than operating a processor yourself.
I think when we came up with the business model, obviously, because Golden Sunland's core expertise was in seeds, the co-founding team has more than 30 years experience in seed development. But that's when we realized the main concern of the agri-tech industry, particularly for rice, is revenue from seed is not as much as high as those from tomatoes and different crops. And you have to understand that in terms of business model, your target audience, your potential consumers, your potential buyers of seed are actually the bottom of the pyramid who might not be able to afford these seeds. So having to build the first processing plant is actually part of a design to prove a system. But the growth of Golden Sunland, from what we envision, is to work with other processing plants instead of keep building hard assets of our own. So that is generally the thought forward. But for the beginning, it is important to create this mini ecosystem where we control the entire value chain so that the value of the seed is actually reflected at a consumer level and not just at the farmer's level, because we understand that the consumers ultimately are the one who's footing the bill. So if the consumer can accept the end product of the seed, that will drive up the uptake of the seed, and therefore, hopefully with sufficient volume, we don't need to build our own processing plant after that.
Okay. One question from the audience.
Yeah.
Can we confirm where the production plant will be constructed? And has your business plan been delayed or affected by the political instability?
Thank you for asking this question. Definitely the pandemic and the current political instability has caused some delay to the company, and the political unrest and the pandemic is actually the key reason why we are actually raising. We shouldn't need to raise actually since 2020. So the plant is about 70% completed. Currently, we still have our product in the market because within our seed center, we actually do have a smaller scale rice mill. And this smaller scale rice mill is sufficient to churn out premium products for the Singapore market and different market regionally. So what we are raising is really to complete the rice mill so that we can reach the full 50 to 60,000 metric ton capacity annually. Now, the question about whether the current situation in Myanmar will affect the business moving forward, the more positive outlook, and I wouldn't say this is too far-fetched, but actually our export is actually not affected. Sure, it was delayed for a couple of months, but we have to take into consideration that agriculture is actually a key GDP driver within Myanmar itself. So while a lot of things are happening, agriculture activities does carry on. And as mentioned in my presentation just now, Myanmar is a place where there's actually a need for our solutions. So by staying on in Myanmar, by continue working with the smallholder farmers, we actually do attract more recognition from international bodies such as FAO and UNEP. And it does enhance the reputation of not just the company, but also the product that we produce. So ultimately, Golden Sunland's presence in Myanmar is to uplift the livelihood of the local farmers and also to improve the export quality of the rice from Myanmar.
Got it. Thanks, David. And yeah, I think we recently, or rather in the last 1 or 2 years, we see a lot of development in the area of technology for proteins, to have a protein. And I think that's a key part of food security, but we can't neglect the carbohydrate security as well, right? For the people in
exactly
in Singapore and in the world. So
every time I have the opportunity to chat with colleagues from MTI or SFA, I always joke with them that, hey, our 30-30 plan, we have fish, we have vegetables, but no meal in Asia is ever complete without rice. So come on, let's work on it.
Okay. Thank you, David.
All right,
thank you.
Presentation.
Again, the audience, if you have any question, put it in the Q&A or write directly to David. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we would like to invite Alexei Terakov from Polyplanta.
Okay. Okay, I think my video finally works, right?
Great. I can hear and see you well.
Okay, let me just start the presentation. Okay, okay. Dear colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to present Polyplanta. It's a range of innovative colloidal silver-based fertilizers to you today. So why colloidal silver? There are several reasons for that, actually. And the first of them being the ability of colloidal silver to stimulate plant growth. It does that by increasing the amount of auxin, a hormone of growing inside plant tissues, and by decreasing plant sensibility to ethylene, a hormone of aging, basically making it so that the plants continue growing way beyond their age, which as a result means more agricultural product for the farmer. The other two reasons are connected to the ability of colloidal silver to protect plants from diseases, from pathogens, and from stress factors. It does that both directly and indirectly. The direct action of colloidal silver can be explained through silver ions, which disrupt the normal operation of pathogen cells, leading to their death, while the indirect action of colloidal silver can be explained through its so-called elicitor qualities. You see, to put it very simply, colloidal silver acts as some kind of a vaccine for plants. So the plant sees colloidal silver particles that end up on its surface as something foreign, something it should get rid of. So it starts boosting its own immune system. It starts growing faster and bigger to make sure that colloidal silver won't harm it. But actually, it won't be able to harm it because colloidal silver is absolutely eco-friendly. It is completely safe, both in terms of the environmental impact and its effect on living organisms, which we had to prove time and time again in each country where these products are registered. So by doing all those things, the plants are actually protecting themselves from pathogens, not only from fungi, but also from bacteria, which is something that a very limited number of products can help you achieve. And it also protects itself from stress factors, from freeze, from drought, and from overflowing, from the negative results of the pesticide load, and so on. The colloidal silver treatment technology was developed by the graduates of the leading Russian university, and we filed our first patent in 2009, and currently our products and this technology are patented in more than 20 countries, including the United States, China, Japan, South Korea, European Union, Chile, Turkey, and so on. And to do that, we had to study the plant protection product, the plant nutrition product market quite closely. So we can confidently say that our team was the first to register a product of this kind anywhere in the world, and we did that in 2014. So currently, these products are promoted in 36 countries. They are freely sold in 18 countries, which are in dark blue on this slide. These are South Korea, Vietnam, Turkey, the whole of the ex-Soviet Union territory, Chile, Brazil. We just got our registration in Brazil, so I apologize for Brazil not being in dark blue here. Ecuador, Panama, Nicaragua, Honduras, and several others. And at the same time, I should say that the supply price, the consumer price of these products, it varies greatly. It goes from $70 per 1 liter in South Korea to $50 in Chile, to $40 in Ecuador, to $30 in Russia, and so on. The consumer price is always decided by our local partners. However, we try to make sure that on one hand, it doesn't limit the ability of colloidal silver to reach its audience. And on the other hand, we try to make sure that our local partners, for them, the margin is just as big as the supply price. So, and I should say that we prefer our relationship with our local partners to be a real collaboration where they get to choose their own formula, because colloidal silver can be easily combined with NPK in different quantities with several different micronutrients. They get to choose their own trade name. So in the end, it's not about reselling the products, it's about co-owning them, which is in our opinion, is the best way to bring a new technology to a new part of the world. And besides those 18 countries where the products are sold, we also, they are currently being registered in 18 more countries. And based on our experience, 99% of crops that we encountered throughout these 10 years where we've been working on this technology, 99% crops react to colloidal silver positively. And we can definitely say that colloidal silver works greatly regardless of the type of climate. So it works in countries with dry climates such as Turkmenistan or Uzbekistan, and it works in countries with wet climate like Vietnam or Ecuador. It works in colder countries like Russia and hot countries like Brazil. So to prove that, I have included several slides showing the application results in different countries where we either sell or promote these products. So as you can see, those are results in Ecuador. And I should say that rice is one of the main types of crops that we sell these products for. So those are results from Ecuador as well, results on tomato, cacao, lemon, palm tree, banana. So these are results from Vietnam. As you can see, those products are multifunctional, as I said, because not only they stimulate growth, but they also increase and show the fungicidal and insecticidal effect. And here you can see the yield increase and the yield increase shown in terms of money that it brings to local farmers. So these are results from South Korea. So the results from Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and obviously Russia. We know that soybean is a very important type of crop in terms of Asian market. So, and we are happy to say that soybean is one of the most receptive types of crops. So those are results on, potato and fruits. As you can see, as I've already said, so these products help protect the plants from bacteria. So as I've already, this is a very brief introduction to this technology, and I will be happy to explain more of it. And if you think it is interesting for you to try and bring this technology to a new region, then we would welcome any type of collaboration. And I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexei. It's really interesting that you talk about this immediately after we talk about rice.
Yeah.
I also can see another big segment when you show the oil palm, the effect on the oil palm plantation, which I assume you know that in Southeast Asia, that this is the region with the highest production of crude palm oil. Okay, one question coming from the audience. How is the company's formulation or technology different from other products in the market? So I assume that will be the differentiating factor, is that no other person has or no other product has colloidal silver. Is that right?
You see, we first registered this kind of product 7 years ago. So as we know, now there are products appearing they also use colloidal silver. Like we encountered that in Ecuador. Unfortunately, sometimes we even see people, basically ripping off our demonstration materials and putting them in their own presentations. However, the difference is that colloidal silver and silver in general is not new, and its qualities are not new. They've been known for centuries, actually, not in agriculture, but in medicine and veterinary. The thing is that we do not simply take colloidal silver. We also, when we take the colloidal silver particle and to put it in the product, we put it in a special coating that we developed ourselves to make sure that colloidal silver is stable. The main problem of silver-based products, and we encountered quite a lot of them in Vietnam, for example, not colloidal silver, but ionic silver, other types of silver, is that it's not very stable. It gets destabilized very easily, and it falls down on the bottom of the bottle, and it doesn't work. However, we found this coating that will keep the colloidal silver particles stable for 4 years. So this is the know-how that only we have. So depending on the type of formula, we use different coatings to achieve different results. So some products have less colloidal silver, some have more, and for each of them we use this special coating, and which is something. So we took some of these new products and we tried to analyze them, and we didn't find our coatings. So even up to this day, the coating itself is exclusive to our technology. So you can be sure that these products will be different from, even if someday if they become popular and people try to copy that, the coating is very hard to copy, and it's exclusive to us as the developers and the manufacturers.
Got it. So there's your unique, the unique part of your tech or your product.
Yes.
Can you also quickly share with us, if you can, about the fundraising history of the company? How much have you raised, and are you looking to fundraise for this time round, and what will be the amount?
Okay, these days the annual sales of colloidal silver products everywhere in the world are around $4 million per year. Based on the fact that we only started our sales outside of Russia 3 years ago, it's quite a big achievement for us. To be completely honest, we're not looking for fundraising per se. We're mostly looking for local partners, companies who are ready to invest in bringing these products to newer regions. So the main costs will be related to registration, but due to these products due to these products and the fact that they can easily be registered as fertilizers, they're not supposed to be quite big. I mean, the registration costs, and the main cost will also be related to promotion of these products. However, the good thing is that they do not cost that much, but depending on what the market is ready to pay for them, the margin is always, sometimes it's 200% more or 300% more compared to the original price. So sometimes we just export our products. Sometimes we build a manufacture facility in a certain part of the world, like we did in Korea. So we are about to finish the construction of my manufacturing facility next year. So it all depends on what is required for this particular country. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Anyone
that is interested, to partner or to distribute the product of Polyplata, please reach out to Alexei.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexei. Okay. Sorry, we are a little bit ahead of the schedule and behind. Okay. So quickly, I will pass the time to Dr. Pao Senjie from Syngrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Anton.
Please
Yeah,
share your
let me share my screen first. Yeah, can you see my screen, Anton?
Yes.
Yeah, let me put it onto the full screen. Great.
Okay, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Anton. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Very glad to have this opportunity to showcase Syngro's vision and business plan. My name is Bao Shengjie. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Syngro. So we are an early-stage agri-tech startup to offer the end-to-end solution to grow high-value crops using the controlled environment farming approach. And our value proposition is to feed the urban population where they stay. And we want to make the urban farming as one of the primary approach to grow certain crops, to minimize the carbon footprint, to ensure all year round supply, and to follow the organic standard. So I'm sure most of you have already aware some of the key challenges from the traditional farming and also the traditional food supply chain matters. And we have been using strawberries as a special case to study the market. And we found a huge market needs here in Southeast Asia. So first of all, please let me share some quick facts about strawberries. There are two major types of strawberries in the market, the ever-bearing varieties and the seasonal bearing varieties. The ever-bearing ones are largely grown in US, Australia, most European countries, and Africa. This one has better yield with bigger fruit size, with harder texture, so it has a longer shelf life. However, genetically, these ever-bearing varieties are much sour. If we measure the sugar content at Brix level, this one usually have an average Brix level of 7 to 9. While on the other hand, the seasonal bearing varieties, largely grown in Japan, China, and South Korea, are much sweeter with the average Brix level above 11. So they are much sweeter, but on the same hand, because the yield is lower and the production is seasonal, the unit price for this variety is also much more expensive. Then when we look at the market, although there are no local productions, but in Singapore, in Asian countries, and also in Middle East, the strawberry market is still quite reasonable. However, dominant market share is occupied by the ever-bearing variety because this one has longer shelf life, so it's easier for the importers to get this one into these local markets. However, on the other hand, in countries like Japan and China, where there are local productions, the major market share is occupied by seasonal bearing varieties, because this is actually the real strawberries that is good for direct consumption and that can offer you the real strawberry experience. So what if we can offer a solution to grow seasonal bearing strawberries all year round with an affordable price to supply to this market? We stand a chance to disrupt the current strawberry markets industry in these regions. Here is what we do. First of all, we develop our own strawberry varieties, which are tropical resilient. They can grow well under a temperature of around 25 degrees. And at the same time, they require very less artificial lights or climate controls. So it's a perfect variety for indoor farming. And secondly, we design a cultivation method around the new varieties so that we can achieve the first harvest within 3 months after transplanting. This is at least 40 times less or faster comparing to the conventional strawberry method. And among the first 3 months time, we use very minimum artificial lights and air conditioning. So we have compared our energy consumptions. We are at least 30 times more efficient than most of the current indoor farming companies in the world. And thirdly, we have designed and developed our own vertical farming system, which is a strawberry specific design. It's easier for crop management and easier for harvesting. So we have been using this approach and have been developing this idea along the way. We spent almost 3 years to develop our own crop varieties and to test this idea in the lab. And then we spent about 1 year time to fine-tune the idea, and we developed 3 versions of prototypes. And eventually, since last November, we complete our first pilot farm in Singapore. And have been producing our strawberries for almost 4 rounds. So the unique selling point or the core competency of Syngro's solution along the supply chain is we emphasize on the very upstream and the very downstream. Although we can grow and sell the produce by ourselves, but our major focus is actually to serve as a solution provider. We are developing our business through the franchise model. We supply everything, including our proprietary crop varieties, the growing method, the smart farming equipment to our franchisee, so that we can ensure that they can grow similar quality of strawberries like we do. And then we buy back the produce from the franchisee to market under the single brand and to sell through our e-commerce platform. So we only do online sales, and we do advanced sale and subscription model. So in this way, we can enjoy the very good profit margin on the solution providing end, and also we interact with the customers directly to build our brand. And apart from this, the major business model, we also offering our consultancy service. For example, these are one of the current clients we have been working with. We are helping them converting their indoor space into indoor vertical vegetable farms. So from this 1,000 square meter space, our solutions can help them produce more than 200 tons of vegetables a year. This is at least 20 times more productive than a conventional greenhouse vegetable farm in the same with a similar size. And also we managed to get them 4 million grant from the government to co-fund the space. And recently we just complete the signing of the MOU and the franchise agreement with our first franchisee from Batam, Indonesia. So we supply everything to their space to establish an indoor vertical strawberry farm for them. And the construction is under the way, and we hope to complete this project by Q3 this year, so that we can get the first buyback produce from them by end of this year. And apart from strawberries, actually Syngro has more to offer. We are very strong on breeding. We have our own research capability and also a joint lab with NUS to apply the CRISPR-Cas9 and the crossbreeding to quickly improve and to develop new crop varieties. So far, we have developed more than 30 different crop varieties, and they are all good for commercialization, and they are all non-GMO certified. And also, we can improve some of the current growing method to reduce energy consumption and to improve the crop qualities. On the other hand, we have been working with different partners to develop smart farming technologies like this robotic arms for automatic harvesting. Using the similar algorithm, we also developed them into a phenotyping machine to examine the flowers so that it can help on the pollination. And also we are developing it to track the plants for any disease or stress response. So along the way, we're going to expand our production from strawberries to other crops like saffron, melons, and herbs. And also we can provide different services like farm construction, data services, and personnel trainings. Next, let's talk about the team. So we have a very strong scientific team. Like for myself, I hold a PhD from NUS on the plant physiology and molecular biology. So strawberry was actually one of my side projects during my PhD study. So currently I'm still the main guy in the team to look up the innovations on the plant research end. And my partner Xutao is more focusing on engineering innovations. We also have the honor to have Professor Yu Hao to help us on the fundamental research behind our technology. On the other hand, we have a very experienced business team to help us execute our plan. And these are some key progress we have made. So last year we complete our seed round fundraising of 1.6 million with a lead investor from US Agrifood. And we complete our pilot farm in Singapore and already harvest 4 times. So we already start our online sales since this May and achieve an average order value more than $50 already. And since our incorporation, our revenue is already surpassed 2.2 million Sing dollar. So here is the ask. We're going to raise our Series A from this September. We're looking at 15 to 20 million Sing dollar. This will allow us to build our first commercial scale farm in Singapore, and also to develop 8 to 10 franchisees in the region in the coming 3 years' time. So we hope to have a combined farm size of more than 52,000 square meter space, with a revenue of more than 43 million, and with EBITDA of more than 10 million Sing dollars. So if you are interested, please shoot me an email, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Thank you.
Sun Jie, thank you very much. We have one question. Do you create your own software to run the farm?
Yeah, we currently are developing the IoT farm management platform with several different partners. Yes.
Okay.
We are not an engineering company, so that we still rely on the partners to develop the hardware. But at the same time, we provide our insights to them, like for what kind of parameters and what will be the repressions of those parameters into the final yield and qualities.
Got it. So the agronomy knowledge is coming from you and,
Syngro,
and
yes.
the team in Syngro.
Yes.
Yeah. And for this next round of fundraising, and after that, what do you envision as the main revenue model for Syngro? Will that be from the seedling supply or more on the sales of the produce?
Yeah. So the major revenue part of it will be the seedling supply, because strawberry and other crops we have been developed are very specific varieties. The clients need to buy the seedlings from us.
Yeah.
Because like strawberries and other like saffrons, they cannot really be grown from the seed. You need to grow them from the seedlings, and the seedlings must be undergoing some specific treatment in order for them to flower, like in simple weather conditions. So these are some of the specific service we can provide. If they buy seedlings for other suppliers, or if they just use normal seedlings, we cannot really guarantee the yield or the qualities, because at the end, it's not really a natural conditions for these kind of crops to be grown in the tropical countries.
I see. And the plan is also to apply the same model for the other crops that you will be launching to. Okay.
Yes, because one of the key strengths Syngro has is to manipulate the floral transitions of the plants. We know how to make plants flower faster or in a delayed manner, so that we can have more biomass to accumulate or to harvest more leaves. So that's our key strength.
Fantastic. Okay. Sun Jie, there are, I think, 2 more questions in the Q&A, but I will need you to address them by just responding to them directly.
Broccoli can be considered, but because we don't really have a very good starting materials for broccoli. Usually when we enter into a new business model, we start from the new varieties. We want to study the varieties and the key like market pain about that certain crops. But broccoli, it's a very interesting model. We're actually looking at that.
Okay, on the business models, I think you can just type and respond to them, because I think that will need more elaborate.
Okay. I will type and answer them separately.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your presentation, Sun Jie.
Thank you.
Okay, and now, last but not least, I'd like to invite Pascal Wolf, friend from Germany, representing YoGrow. Hi. Can you try and share your presentation, Pascal?
Can you see the presentation? Yes?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, all good.
Thank you. So yeah, my name is Pascal. I'm the CEO and co-founder of YoGrow, and we are providing kind of different approach to the vertical farming market. What we are providing is the worldwide first smart organic vertical farming solution on a global scale. Why are we doing this? A lot of presentations, and it's always the same what you're hearing, that there are 2 reasons why we need the vertical farming solution in the future. The first of all is that food is getting scarce. There are 3 main reasons for that. The first of all, we have an exponential growing of the population, about 85 billion people on this planet in less than 10 years. We have a massive decreasing resources, and especially the essential resources to produce food like water, soil, nutrients. And the third point is that the nutritions won't be met in the future. So we don't have a solution so far how we can provide in a natural manner, in a natural way, the right nutrients to the human body for mental and physical health. So the solutions you see at the market at the moment don't address the organic and sustainable food supply. And the second point is that the food we already have is getting sickening to the human body, and also the solutions we have on the vertical farming market so far are sickening the body. There are different reasons. The main reason is that we're using a huge amount of chemicals, which we are providing in the growth cycles of the plants. This goes from fertilizer, pesticides, and so on. The second point is that since 1980, the nutrients within the plants decreased by more over 80%, almost about 85%. And the third reason is why food is getting sickening at this time is that with the use vertical farming, with traditional hydroponic approach, is that we have a double chemical input into the plants, which we're also consuming with the human body. And what the people need actually is meeting the sweet spot between food is getting sickening and food is getting scarce. And we provide a solution with smart organic vertical farming, where we can personalize the nutrients to the need of the customer in real time. And how are we doing this? We have a three-stage approach. First of all, we developed the so-called bright soil, which is a fully natural growth medium where we inoculate with symbiotics so that the plants develop the right nutrients in the right way, and we do this all in a fully organic manner. The second point is what we are actually doing is we're providing the so-called YourGrow Space Camp, which is a home indoor farming system, and we're collecting data. At the moment, we have the biggest in-field study, the largest in-field study on worldwide about the environmental, like temperature, humidity affect the growth of plants actually. And we have a sensor modeling, machine learning model behind it. And in the third stage, which we are already starting right now, is that we will scale this information and our bright soil approach into a fully automated farming as a service solution. So what we are providing at the moment is plants which grow without any chemicals, which have the 25 nutrients compared to vertical farming, urban farming, traditional growth cycles, and therefore we are able to provide physical health, mental health to the people and give them a real-time feedback which type of nutrients they need. And we can do this 24/7, 365 years because we're doing it indoor and fully automated. So let's have a look at the bright soil, where the journey starts and where we can provide this farming by design in a fully natural way. So we developed the bright soil, which is a natural growth medium, which releases the right nutrients in a plant-specific way. We have 11 different plants at the moment, herbs, crops, tomatoes, pepper, you name it. And what we're also doing in this plant-specific way is that we manage the growth of the plants just with our bright soil. So we get rid of all the technology you need in a normal vertical farming approach. And we are also able to design the nutrients in the plants. So to sum it up, we can design to the personal needs of my human body. So if I'm doing a lot of sports and need like magnesia or selene, for example, we can provide it into the plant, and you can adapt it more easy and can get rid of all the pills. And to get to this personalized farming approach and make it easier for the customer to adopt this technology, we thought, like, let's go to the customer first. To get to know each other, basically. So they have to get to know the technology about vertical farming, because when you step outside the vertical farming bubble these days, people don't know the technology and they don't trust it at all because it's super artificial. They're using a lot of chemicals. Of course, there are some benefits, but if you ask the customer, they need and they want completely different solution. They want organic growth, they want a sustainable growth, and they want to have a growth which is good for their body. So we went to the customer. You can see this on this picture, and what we are doing, we're providing them our food. They get a taste, they see how it affects their life, and also we are collecting the data. I mentioned it before. So by this real-time growth parameter controlling, we are able to organically customize plant nutrients and deliver them on demand. We're already testing this on the right side. You can see our results so far. And why we are doing this is when we ask the people, and if you have a look on the trends that you see on a global level, is that people are looking for sustainable and healthy alternatives to the current market, and they want to have the nutrients to the body. You can see this, that last year since COVID, the nutritional supplements industry grew about 40%. And the third point is that we have a strongly growing demand for on-demand consumption. You can see this in Germany and Europe with this delivery. You also see this in Asia with the delivery industry. So, and we can provide all these three things. We can provide sustainable food, organic food, with nutrients in the right way, personalized on demand. And if we have a look on the market, we have a solution for three markets. It's basically the organic food market, the health tech market, and the nutrition market, which will be over 600 billion euro on a global level in the next 4 years. And how we want to participate is that we already went to market. We already have our in-field real-time data testing, which we are already scaling and having the POC in 2022, first quartile. And the next 2 years, what we're doing is that we will have a go-to-market for this optimized indoor farming solution with organic growth, with personalized food. So we will be able to provide a solution in a natural way to a market which is huge, growing over the next 3 to 4 years. Let's have a look at the competition. I already mentioned it. The main solutions we have at the market so far in vertical farming is that they maintaining the status quo. What do we mean by this? Nobody of the competitors has really the idea to change the supply chain, because what we are doing, we are connecting the customer directly to the supplier. So we are the supplier of the fresh food, and we're delivering it on demand, so we can get rid of this very inefficient supply chain and can save a lot of money. We don't need any toxic chemicals, which we don't bring to the people. And the third thing is that all of them are using, you can see it on the picture there, using an anorganic growth medium like rock wool. So they have to add these chemicals, and people don't like these chemicals. They're using a lot of energy at the moment in industrial farming solution. And yeah, as I already mentioned, and to sum it up, the solutions today don't provide any nutrients in a natural way, and they have a huge chemical contamination. And it doesn't matter whether it's outdoor farming, it's industrial farming, or vertical indoor farming, and we are the only company who has a real alternative to these problems. So our business model is very easy. We already placed the base camp, which is a razor blade model. We have a one-time revenue, and then we have a ongoing revenue via our bright soil plug. So people are reordering it, and we get a lot of liquidity, which we can work with. And the third thing we already have at the moment are our data models. So I just mentioned we have the largest in-field study worldwide about the influence of the environment on the growth of the plants. And we are getting this like a Trojan horse, because people are just interacting with our app and give feedback about the growth of the plants, and we can just connect the data and transfer these data and the knowledge to our vertical farms. Yeah, so what we are searching for at the moment is is 10 million euro for scaling. We already raised 1.5 Singapore dollars in our pre-seed round. Already had about also 1.5 million dollars in Singapore for R&D projects from the German government. And yeah, we just want to go on with our traction. We already placed about 300 systems in the market. We are having the biggest data model at the moment. We grew in the growth of our members was about 12 people in the team in the last 6 months. And yeah, what we already have is a customer acquisition cost about 50 euro, or a customer lifetime value just with the basic Basecamp model. Your Basecamp model is 600 euros. So it's very easy to calculate where we are going at the moment. And we already have LOEs valued about 50 million euros from different global players, like in Germany, it's Edeka, Kitchen Advisor, and stuff. So the team behind this is our managing board. It's me, it's Carsten and Michael, who have both over 20 years in different fields, from strategy over robotics, cloud infrastructure, machine learning. And we have a very, very good advisory board, a lot of different people from Europe with machine learning, biotech, biology, vertical indoor farming, innovation management, and Agritech. And all these people are standing behind our project. They see what we are doing and that we have a real solution, a real alternative to the current trend we see in the vertical farming market. And yeah, you can be part of it. Just contact us, write us an email, join us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and feel free to ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. Very exciting. And I have a question about you. You mentioned that you have installed about what 300 installations. Could you tell us a bit about the diversity of the types of crops that are grown in that? Is there a certain area of focus, or you can grow anything basically?
Yeah, you can see it on this picture. So this is the YourGrow Basecamp with the app, and we have installed 300 systems of this in the market. And this is different type of people who are using it. It starts from the student, goes over, we call them the young professionals, and then there we have the silver economy, much more older people who are used to have a garden, and they're using these devices, and we are providing them 11 different plants. This starts from different herbs, salads, and we're also able to create, as you can see, like fruit plants, tomatoes, pepper, chili, and also strawberries, and all on the same time in the same system, and all fully automated with our app and the sensor system we have in the system.
I see. And for the various types of crops, do you have to customize your bright soil?
Yes, it's fully customized for each plant, and we are currently developing the product. So over the next 3 months, we will release 3 more plants. And we are also improving the bright soil every day, because we have, as I shown on the page before, we have 2 different cooperations with universities in Germany, where we can improve the whole setup of our bright soil and to really personalize the nutrients into the plants. And we're currently working on that. So it's a steady growing business model.
Okay. And part of this round of fundraising, does that include the setting up of, I guess, a manufacturing plant for bright soil?
Yeah, we are setting up a manufacturing plant for bright soil, and we are also investing in the next business model, the fully automated vertical farming. So if you take part now, we have the first business model, which is the YourGrow Basecamp, which you see over there. We're using this data, transferring it to our own vertical farm, and then we scale up these vertical farms. And we are already doing this.
Fantastic. Last question. Is there any plan for Asia, or for now it will still be Europe? Okay.
Yes, we are already part of the, in Germany, we call it the Asia Acceleration Program. It's based in Munich.
Yes.
And maybe you know them, and they will help us to get to the market. We are currently, looking for partnerships, actually, how we can go with our technology to Singapore or any other Asian market you have in mind, because we have a very good technology, and this is not just in Europe or the States, also in Asia. This is a growing industry, the organic market, the nutrient market, and the nutritional market. So we have a real solution. And we are in Germany, we call it Zeitgeist. We're meeting the Zeitgeist. This is what people need at the moment.
Cool. Very interesting. Okay. I guess let me see the Q&A button. Okay, there's no more other question. So anybody, if you're interested, with the business of YourGrow, whether it's partnership or investing in the company, please reach out to Pascal directly. Follow them on their LinkedIn. And well, we have come to the end of the Deal Fridays. It has been a very enlightening and a very fruitful presentations from the 6 companies. And of course, I thank you, the audience as well, for spending your Friday with us. And look out for more events coming from Trendlines as well as from ESG Enterprise Singapore. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.